Welcome to Insight into McConnell Economics. This episode features Sean Flynn, Associate Professor of Economics at Scripps College and co-author of McConnell Economics. In this episode, Sean shares the reason for making key revisions to the 21st edition, as well as the author team's decision to provide class-tested, guided peer instruction materials which you can incorporate to improve student success.
Hi, this is Sean Flynn. I'm one of the authors of the McConnell Principles of Economics textbook, and I'm coming to you today here from my office to discuss with you a little bit about some of the important changes we've made to the 21st edition, changes that we're really excited about and which we really think will help pedagogy for the students themselves and also help teachers get across to their students what's really most important about the economy today and what policymakers are up to. One of the big changes we've made is to our core monetary policy chapter, where we're discussing the Federal Reserve and interest rates. What's interesting here is that the Federal Reserve has announced plans about how to normalize interest rates and get them back up to a higher level. This, of course, is an interesting problem for the Fed because of the massive pile of excess reserves in the banking system that by themselves would depress interest rates. So we take our time to patiently explain to students how the Federal Reserve is going to use the interest rate on excess reserves coupled with reverse repo transactions to take liquidity out of the system and raise interest rates. Now, we've done it the McConnell way, just like we always have, and it's a patient treatment and it's got a lot of intuition, and so we've had it reviewed and people really like it, instructors really like it, and we're really excited to see how it helps students in the next few years understand what the Federal Reserve is going to be up to as it proceeds to attempt these normalization procedures. This, of course, was a huge change because we also had to get rid of the old presentation, which was heavily focused on the federal funds rate and old-fashioned bond purchases and sales for open market operations and soaking up liquidity or increasing it, which are no longer relevant due to that giant overhang of reserves. So that's one thing we've done that's new and exciting. Another has to do with our presentation in the international finance chapter of fixed exchange rates and how they relate to variable exchange rates and flexible exchange rates. And what we wanted to achieve there was a lot of clarity for students over what are likely to be huge debates in the coming years about China and whether it's a currency manipulator and what the consequences are of pegging your currency. And in particular, if you peg your currency at an artificially low rate, you are naturally going to pile up massive foreign currency reserves. And that, of course, has consequences for various things in terms of international trade and international relations because those excess reserves have to be invested somewhere, typically in the other country, in this case China with the United States. They end up buying a lot of stuff in the United States. And so this gives students a real understanding of the dynamics behind what will likely be a lot of frictions between the United States and China over the coming years. Another thing we've done is to heavily revise and update all our topics chapters. McConnell is, of course, the Principles of Economics textbook that, in addition to doing the best job, at least in my opinion, of presenting core material, also goes out of its way to have standalone, coherent, wonderfully expansive chapters on topics. So we have full-length chapters on environmental economics, on agricultural economics, on inequality and labor market discrimination. And we also have a chapter that I think is going to be really relevant on healthcare economics. Now, over the last couple of editions and into this edition, we've made sure to update it for the Obamacare implementation and the debate before that, and then all the criticisms of maybe failures of Obamacare over the last couple of years. And what we've done is set the stage to make sure that students will be able to understand healthcare policy debates over the next few years. For instance, California, and I teach here in California, yesterday legislation was introduced into the assembly that would, if it's passed, which I don't know whether it'll be passed or not, but if it is passed, it would make California into a single-payer state. They'd basically expand Medicaid in the state to everyone and force everyone to be on it. And so that would be like getting a Canadian system or a British-style system. Well, the pluses and minuses of that can be understood by students even in a principles class given the information we give them in our healthcare economics chapter. So that chapter, along with our other chapters that are topic-based chapters, can be thrown into either a micro class or a macro class to add a little variety. So if you've got a full-length semester, maybe you do 10 core chapters and then maybe 3 or 4 of these elective topics chapters as suits your needs, and then you'll have a really rich course from which students can walk away not just with great economic intuitions about core things like comparative advantage, free markets, and so on, but also some real-world understanding and institutional knowledge of some really interesting topics that'll be coming up all the time in policy debates over the next few years. And so one final thing I want to emphasize is that, as always, we've made sure with this upcoming edition of McConnell to do everything in our power to prepare ancillary materials that will make your life easier. Whether that's our narrated PowerPoints, whether it's our Connect system, whether it's Learn Smart and our adaptive learning for students to get them through core concepts before they get to your lectures, we're always doing our best not just to update those materials and those strategies we've already implemented in other editions, previous editions, but to also introduce totally new, really strong pedagogical methods. And so the big debut this time is we're going to have guided peer instruction. So any of you who've wanted to try flip classrooms or do anything like that in the past but didn't have time to prepare the materials, well, we've gone out of our way and we've got great new materials that have been classroom tested, both at big state schools, small liberal arts schools, everything in between. And we know they work and we know they raise test scores, and we're really eager to share them with you. Okay, thank you very much. Again, this is Sean Flynn. I hope you use the 21st edition. If you're interested, please ask your McGraw-Hill sales rep. Thank you very much.